Welcome back. Still here at the third annual Covington Sportsmans Expo here in Andalusia, Alabama. Having a ball today. There's all kinds of things going on. There's everything from alligators to very large boats. There is a reptile exhibition. They're wrestling alligators in another building. Here right now with Michael Demmer. Michael, you and Mark McDuffie are friends, and both of you share a bond in the fact that you're both veterans and you have both suffered injuries, what we would call wounded warriors. I know that term is sometimes well overused and sometimes even has a bad connotation because there have been some abuses of it. So we're sort of sensitive to that. But for lack of a better term, with your permission, we'll use that term, wounded warrior. You were served, and you served, got hurt, and went back again. Talk a little bit about your history, your military history.
I joined the Army in 2003, straight out of high school. I was 17 years old. I went to basic training, and within 3 months of graduating basic training, I was gone to Iraq at 18, and I was over there. I did 15 months my first time. Came back, I married, trained up, and I went back again in 2006 as a newlywed. I'd only been married about 2 months. And I went back, and I was over there 7 months. Into January of 2007, I was wounded in a roadside bomb, and just outside Baghdad. I went to the hospital in Landstuhl, Germany, and to Boston, Massachusetts, to the Eye and Ear Infirmary, where they had to repair my eye for vision loss. And then that was in January, and then by July, I had volunteered to go right back to be back with my guys. I just felt that those guys were over there suffering, and it wasn't right, but they're over there fighting, and I was back here. I was able to fight, so I went back and did it again. I've only been back about 2 weeks, and then we were ambushed, and I was wounded again. So that time I said, 2 times, that's enough. I'm just going to sit back and just let the Army do with me what they will. So
we talk a lot about it on this show, but for those who are unaware, how many people really, statistically, numbers-wise, however you want to split it up, how common is it for a soldier to be wounded to the point where they have to be evacuated and then have rehabilitation?
It's pretty common. It's job dependent, and even then, there's guys who cooks, finance people, and they get wounded too with indirect fire mortar attacks. As a combat guy, I was out there outside the wire, engaging local nationals every day. So it's pretty high pretty high chance you're going to get wounded if you're out there every day. Just sooner or later it's bound to happen. A lot of guys, there's a lot of technology that we have with the construction of our vehicles. It really does protect us better. Certain vehicles, they deflect the blast, say, of a roadside bomb. And these guys, we're getting a lot of superficial wounds, but eventually it's going to happen where someone's going to get taken out and had to get brought back here.
What's the most challenging part of serving in that theater? Because I think that anyone who's a veteran of other wars would certainly agree that it's definitely unique into itself. Just like Vietnam was a theater that was unique.
Right.
Certainly Iraq, same way.
To me, Iraq it's an asymmetrical battlefield. You don't know who the enemy is. They dress the same as the local national populace. They could fight you 1 second, be shooting at you, drop their weapon, walk away, turn a corner, and they look like just any other person. It was just really hard to identify the enemy. So just that aspect of it, truly know who you're fighting. And again, it's really bad on the people who are good to you there, the people who aren't fighting you, because you have to treat everybody as a bad guy because you don't know who is and who isn't. And I think that was really the hardest part for me as far as fighting the war.
That obviously adds a wrinkle to rules of engagement.
Yep.
What are the rules of engagement?
You have to basically be shot at and see them shooting at you in order to return fire. And they have to have deadly intent. You have to know, you have to be sure that they're there to harm you or one of your buddies or the U.S. government equipment in order to engage them with with your direct fire. So again, it's a very challenging situation. Just being able to, it's hard. You put that responsibility on a young high school kid, basically an 18-year-old boy. You send him over there and tell him he's got to make that life or death decision, and it's a lot.
You know Carter Hess?
I have not met Carter Hess.
You haven't. Carter lives in Panama City Beach. Has been on the show before. We've done some hunts with him, and had that same conversation with him. And he explained that many times you're depending on the local grapevine or turncoats, for lack of a better term, on that other side who say, hey, the guy over there, is a bad guy and he's going to do something at midnight tonight. But talk about being confusing. It's a bad situation at best. You throw into the fact that you've got a rules of engagement that are pretty tough to follow.
Very tough. Yes.
And we obviously have lots of opportunities for firing at the wrong time or being prosecuted for something, and you're acting in the best of with the best of intentions. But what do you do?
I tell you, it's very stressful. Always worrying if what you were doing, making the right decision, and always that chance of you getting in trouble if you made a wrong decision. Just to put that stress on a soldier, thinking it also makes them hesitate at a time when they shouldn't hesitate, and I don't think that that's not good. Now, like Carter said, that you rely a lot on the local populace, and that just proves the fact that not all Iraqis are bad people. You might think that they're all bad, but they're really not. There's a lot over there who just want, they just want to live a life where they're not having to worry about persecution because of their religion or their views. And so those are the ones that come out and help you because they realize that we really were trying to do a good thing over there.
You mentioned the difficulty of those decisions, trying to decide what to do on any given occasion, and yet you not only willingly, you fought to be reassigned and sent back. How do you explain that?
It's very simple to me. There's a TV show on HBO called Band of Brothers, and there's an episode in there where they're talking about their guys who are getting wounded, going to the hospital, sneaking out just to be back with their brothers. There's a bond that you make with them soldiers over there where it's greater than yourself. And for me, it wasn't about me going back. It had nothing to do with me. It was about my guys that I left there, and I owed it to them to go back.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We don't say that often enough, and trust that we appreciate it. And I think that being involved with Mark, who is himself a wounded warrior, Jeep Sullivan, you're seeing that there are people out there who care about you, who want to say thank you, who want to maybe even go beyond a simple thank you and show you. And that's part of what Mark and Jeep's effort is to take veterans out from all wars, certainly not just wounded warriors, certainly not just from the Iraqi or Afghanistan conflicts, but we've got people from World War II that are still going out. Not many of those left.
No, man.
Arguably the last war that we really tried to win in the United States. That's a political discussion, won't go there. But nonetheless, you've got a bunch of, as you point out, young guys, sharp guys, and they're giving it all, and some leave it all behind. Some give all, as they say. What's your involvement with the Wounded Warrior effort with Mark McDuffie?
I got involved with Mark and Jeep about, probably 6 months ago. And when I got out of the Army and I was medically retired, I was very reclusive. And it's just hard to connect with a lot of people who don't understand your situation. Now, Mark, being a Wounded Warrior, him and I hit it off from the get-go. And Mark came to me one day and was like, hey, I need to introduce you to somebody who's doing a lot of stuff with local Wounded Warriors. And that means a lot to me, being from the local area here in Alabama, North Florida. He took me and he introduced me to Jeep. And I just realized what Jeep was doing. It just touched me, and it inspired me to get back up, get out there, and help these other guys. So, my involvement with them, I'm doing everything from fundraising for Mr. Sullivan, just helping out any way he needs it. Same thing with Mark, just getting these other guys out. Again, I try to give back, not just for me. I want to help these other guys who are amputated, who need help, getting up and down, anything like that. So just getting these guys, getting them in the outdoors. Hunting and fishing has always been very close to my heart. So if I get to take these guys, help them, and get to do what I love to do, it doesn't get any better than that for me.
We have the fortune of working with Jeep. We help him with his marketing and so forth. And I've gotten to know Jeep, and we deal with a lot of people. And not everybody has pure intentions. And that's not always bad. Everybody has to make a living. And as long as somebody doesn't lie about what they represent or doesn't present falsehoods, then you can live with it. We know Jeep is the real deal. Jeep is very self-effacing. He's very honest. He says he was not in the service. He probably should have gone, wished he had now. Regardless, certainly doing his part. Part of what it takes to do this is fundraising, and you pointed out that's we're certainly sensitive to talking to returning soldiers about what happened in times of the stressful battle, and in association with their medical situations. But most of them realize that we have to let the public know what guys like you have gone through, and despite that, still do to this day, in order to raise the monies so that we can then continue to help other returning soldiers. Would that be a fair statement?
Very fair. We can't do what we're doing without the contribution from the public. And if it takes me going out there and talking about something that's tough, then that's what I have to do. Because without the public, we couldn't do what we're doing. I mean, everything we do, when Mr. Sullivan puts on an event, I mean, it's hands down across the board, no cost to the warrior. He takes care of everything. And just for these guys who are living on a fixed income, I mean, in order to get up and do something, it usually costs them money. And for him to take them, pay for everything across the board, and just get them out there having a good time where they don't have to worry about the monetary situation, I mean, that's just incredible. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes just because of that.
Jeep has forged an alliance with the Walter Reed Medical Center, and we've had the fortune of being amongst some of the groups of soldiers that they have sent down. One of the most interesting conversations that we had was all these groups come with a handler or a guy who is not in a wounded situation, but is a military employee and comes along with those soldiers and kind of facilitates the trip.
Right.
One of those, on one of the very first trips, indicated to us that most of the guys laying there in the racks at Walter Reed don't really want to go out on these trips, and they'll say, "Now I'm good. I'm in the air conditioning. I'm playing my Game Boy or the Xbox," and that's kind of amazing to me. But we have to understand that not everybody is like you that likes the outdoors, and some of them just aren't interested in participating. So I don't know what that means, but it's really cool that we do have a huge number that come down. They want to shoot, they want to hunt, they want to fish. We've got the opportunity in North Florida. Hard Labor Creek Shooting Sports is also our client. We've been able to hook them up with Jeep and consequently with those soldiers. And they've got a long rifle range, and they've got trap and skeet and sporting clays. And these guys come down and they can shoot all day long at no cost.
That's awesome.
And they comp the trip to Jeep. There's a lot of people out there who do care, and I'm sure that you're seeing that.
Yes, sir, very much so. And to them guys who don't want to get up and do that stuff, I mean, really, I wish they would, just because it's just, maybe they don't like hunting, they don't like fishing, but it could take their mind off the situation they're in. Just that temporary break in their everyday routine of going through this stuff, I mean, it really is tremendously beneficial to them. And I just wish more people would get up, more of those guys would get up and do it. But just organizations like that let them guys come down there and shoot, I mean, a lot of these guys, despite what they say, I mean, they joined the military for a reason. They all enjoy shooting, so I mean, that's awesome they let them do that.
It falls far short, and it's easy to say thank you. It's an overused term, but for what it's worth, thank you for your service, but more importantly, thank you for what you're doing to this day with Mark and Jeep and all these guys. And you've taken something, you say that you've enjoyed it, now you're able to pass that on and help further that effort. So for what it's worth, thank you for all of that.
Just so you know, that I mean, to me personally, that really does mean a lot, the appreciation, and it really does mean something. So.
And thanks for taking the time today. You know,
yes, sir.
We're here at this expo talking about hunting and fishing and the show, and we got into something that was a little more heavier discussion, but I think it's important for everybody to hear these kinds of discussions.
Yes, sir.
It's almost like people don't want to approach a veteran and talk about these things, and I understand some don't want to be spoken to, but this gives people an opportunity to kind of get a 360 view of what that was all about.
Yes, sir.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just thankful to be here. Glad I can be down here helping.
Thanks again for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Here right now with Michael Demmer. We're here at the 3rd Annual Covington Sportsmans Expo here in Andalusia, Alabama. We're having a ball. More importantly, we're getting to have some really good conversation. Mike, for instance, just one of the examples of something of which we're all proud. Mark McDuffie, Jeep Sullivan here, even though not a veteran, certainly working very hard with that group of guys. Don't know what else to say. We're just overwhelmed, and we appreciate the opportunity to be part of it ourselves. We'll be right back.